Welcome back to the Ruck Shop YouTube channel. In today's video we're going to be going over our TRS rear sets for the Honda Grom. These rear sets will be available in both raw finish and anodized black. The hardware provided will be this spring, this spacer, the smaller cup spacer for the spring, some Allen heads, and then a new brake sensor. In this video we're going to be installing it on a 2014 Honda Grom, and we'll go through the process of installation. Okay, we're going to start off on the left hand side. Now, there are a lot of videos that have shown you how to take off the rear sets online, so we've already taken the rear set off. You can see where you take out the existing long bolt there. We've already knocked it out with a 12mm axle. See where it's touching. And what that's going to do is push the other bolt through and keep your swing arm from dropping from the frame. So we'll start off with showing you the piece that we have here, which will be your left side piece. And then Felix will get into what is next.
So what we're going to do first, we're going to actually hook up the peg. So as you see here, there's a little loop that goes right there and hooks onto the back side of the peg. Down here, probably can't see it, small little hole. You can actually get that spring in that hole at the same time, keep pressure in there, sorry for the hand, and then you're going to slide in that dowel pin style and just slide it down in there. She slides in, make sure it kicks back on you, and then don't forget to put your washer and your cotter pin back in there for safety. Alright, that's step one. Step two, take your shifter linkage, obviously lube this up with some grease, slide that back in there just like that, and then there's a little clip. You can use some needle nose pliers. For this purpose, we're going to slide it down in there. And typically, it'll snap right back in there, just with your fingers or a little flathead. Pop it back in, take your needle noses, squeeze it nice and tight. Make sure it moves freely, of course, and then we'll move on to the next step. So now, when you're getting ready to install, you first want to line it up to your splines here. It will give you a little bit of fight, as you see. Just make sure you can get it all lined up. Then obviously, as you move it upwards, it's going to line up to that bolt that's holding that swing arm and your motor. Then you slide it on there. And then you can slide on your linkage a little bit more into your splines. And then your M8 here. Obviously with some Loctite. Screw that down in there. Just snug it up for now.
You take that 10mm and put it back.
And lock in your linkage. And of course, don't forget to put Loctite on that as well. This side's the easier side, of course. After we tighten that down, that's going to be your 10mm. Now we're going to take the OEM axle bolt, and what I did here, I just placed it at the head of this axle bolt, or whatever you're going to be using. Took a rubber mallet. You might need two people for this, okay? And you start hammering through. It will move on you. Okay? We have anti-seize on ours. And you start banging it through until she goes through.
Now what could happen is it could misalign if it doesn't go through fast enough. So you're going to have to just adjust the frame where you can see where the holes are visually. And this is the part where he said you might need 2 people. So one person can adjust it on one side while the other person hits it on the other side.
Yeah, so it's definitely a 2-person job right there.
And there you go. Now you've hammered it through. And the left side is now fastened, bolted on. Again, make sure you use Loctite and everything.
Definitely down here in the bottom and holding your linkage. And now to the next side.
Now we are on the right side, and Felix is going to let you know what you have to do for this.
Alright, so on this one here, it's going to be a little bit more modification. One, we're going to eliminate the OEM spring. So you can just kind of put that to the side. And we're going to be replacing it with this heavy duty spring here and the cup. Simply take out 12 mil open end. Hold this lever nice and tight. Crack it. Back it up just a little bit and then turn this out. I found out to be this would be the easier way of doing it. I know some guys will probably see this first and try to knock it out first, but honestly, it's not going to work as easy as this. Back that out just a little bit. Get your spring. Fit it right down in there. Get your cup. Actually, jumped a step there. Like I was saying, back this out. Take your cup. Put it onto the spring just like that. Now take your nut and just give it some tension. You can kind of feel when it starts to get nice and tight. Just make it nice and snug. Don't have to over tighten it yet. Because now, reverse install your lever. So you can kind of see where it meets up with the nut. One nice turn. You got about 2 or 3 threads showing in there. It's going to be a little tight. And just snug that nice and tight. And now you have your new spring installed for the set. We're not done yet though. Because while you're here, your kit comes with this switch. This is going to be your new brake switch. We're going to eliminate your OEM one as well. For the video, we did not uninstall, the plastics and all. But basically, you're going to uninstall your OEM switch. You're going to take this guy, take out your banjo bolt up here. It comes with new washers. Install in here. Obviously, you're going to be opening the system, so it's always safe to go back and bleed everything you just did. And then you hook up the 2 wires that come. Run it back up to the top, and that's going to be your new brake switch.
And that's going to thread into your master cylinder.
Correct. For
the rear brake.
And that's going to this is going to activate your lights to hit or to come on when you hit the brake. And that'll be it for that one. Now we're going to go to the actual rear set. Just like how we did the left side. You get that hook. Hook it up to the back side. Bring it right back. Line up that hole. Again, it's a little tricky. So I apologize if I don't get on the first shot. Oh, I got it. There you go, guys. And then again, don't forget your washer. And then your a new cotter pin there, okay? You can use all your OEM stuff if you need to, except the cotter pin. And now, we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so now we're going to install the lever. And when you tore apart your OEM one, it came with these little cups. Again, I like to put those back on if I could. So we're going to install the inside one first. Put some grease in there if you need to, of course. I recommend that. Then we're going to slide that bad boy in here. At the same time, you got to be cautious and make sure these line up if you want, you can take one of the 6mm bolts, run it through the hole, just one. Kind of help you lock everything in. Use a nylock nut to temporarily hold it into place. That way you can kind of get back into what you were doing here. It's going to get a little hard to see here, but now you're going to take the other half. You want to say that washer, you can say. Cover that back up. Then you're going to take your clip. This one had a C-clip. And then you're going to lock that right back into place, okay? Once that locks into place, you're going to take it right back, put it into the... You're going to line it up. Oh, obviously, don't forget your spacer, before I forget that. Slide that back in there. You're going to line everything up. That's what this was helping for. And then take your M8 again. Line it up with your hole. With Loctite, of course. Snug it. Don't tighten it down too much yet. Then you're going to take your OEM washer and your nut. You can dab some Loctite on there, of course. Thread that in all the way, of course, and then you take your next M6. But before I do all that, I'm going to take this back out to show you guys something here.
Sorry, I lost you in the camera. Bring you around to show what Felix is saying.
So on this bike here, we're running a hot lap exhaust. Obviously it comes with this little hanger right here. And we run ours right in between. Just like that. If you're running the same exact exhaust, you're going to want to get these probably about 5mm longer or so. It will probably be on the description once we get it all finalized. So that would lock it in how it used to be. Once you get that locked in there, you're going to use your nylocks with some red Loctite back in there. And then you tighten it all down. Make sure everything's nice and solid. Make sure you turn your ignition on. And make sure that your lever is moving nice and smooth. You can always go back and adjust this nut if you need more tension on that spring or if you need less. And that's how you're going to adjust your brake. So that way your light comes on and just make sure it comes off. And that right there would be your right hand side rear sets installed.
So there you have it. Both the right and left side rear sets are on. As you can see, like Felix had mentioned, check your brake after. Make sure you have the sensor correctly. You're going to have to bleed the brakes a little bit as well because you are removing the other banjo and when you put the new sensor in. And then on the other side, it was just a little bit smoother of an install.
Again, you might need a second person just for that part. So it'll make it a lot easier unless you can get yourself a good jack, some stands, hold that swing arm up and just push that bolt right through there. Definitely recommend some anti-seize just to be safe. And then obviously don't forget your Loctite.
And as always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe.